Hello, everyone. This is Caillou, and I'm joined here today by Bradley Rose. And we're going to be talking about a custom magic event that's going to be happening for all of this month called Moxtober. Now, since this is Bradley's like brainchild and stuff, I'll like throw it to him to explain it.
Hello. I Moxtober. I came up with that. You might be familiar with Inktober, and that happened back in 2018, where I was like, I want to do Inktober, but I don't want to ink stuff. I wanted to design magic cards. So fun fact, called it Meltober. And then Alexis Jansen, who you might know,
Oh,
designed Dragon's
who used to work
Maze.
at Watson? Yeah, at Watson.
Yeah, yeah. Alexis suggested calling it Moxtober, which would I think was a better call. Mel being the psychographic profile that's on the same spectrum as Porthos. So I did it for that year, and then 2019, last year, I was like, let's do it again, and other people joined in to Moxtober, and then now this year, a lot of you are joining in. This is pretty awesome, and I think it's a great time to just exercise your design skills to whatever random prompts, getting you thinking creatively in ways that you might not normally be doing day to day.
I think like lots of times people can get like stuck in ruts for like custom card design where like, they're like designing a set and they have like a specific focus there, and sometimes it becomes hard to like even keep designing that same thing because you need to sometimes you need to like step out of your comfort zone and try different things and experiment, and at that point you'll get inspiration for how to continue. So I think like these kind of like one-off prompts really help like I guess like flex or exercise those creative muscles. So I've really been liking it so far.
Yeah, exactly. You got to play around a bit, and you'll be surprised by what you get.
So yeah, the prompt for the first day of October is harvest. So I think the obvious thought for lots of people was, oh, okay, green cards. I think we've got like a plethora of them over here. Stuff like harvest rotation, I believe it's called. One green and a white. They, as an additional cost to cast harvest rotation, sacrifice to a forest or plains. Search your library for non-basic land. Put that land onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. I think this also adds to another, or like it points to another theme that I think lots of people are looking at, which is um, sacrificing or making use of resources for long-term value. So I think green and that were like the two big, I think, flavor hits that I think a lot of people latched onto. But there were like some smaller stuff too that we're going to be talking about later.
Yeah, agreed. Harvesting definitely lends towards, yeah, taking up an investment that you put in first to get a nice yield.
Mm-hmm.
Those resources have varied, and also the rewards too. Sometimes that you're using lands, but also other times you're using just creatures themselves in a more dark way
Mm-hmm.
in some of these cards. Like
Yeah.
one card here is, let's see. Actually, let me just throw it to wheat and chaff. It's a split card. Actually, I thought it was really cool that it explored both ideas, which is on one side it's one and a white, wheat sorcery, and search your library for a basic plains card, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. And then there's chaff on the other side, two and a white, instant exile target creature. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah, I think that this is something that like I was surprised like a few people hit on the idea of like split cards or aftermath cards. It wasn't something that was on my radar initially as like a mechanical thing, but the idea of like I guess having that like flexibility and resources, or like hey you like do this thing first and then you have access to this other option later. Now that I think about it, it does kind of like come from that idea of harvesting. So I really like that. Um, but yeah, to get back to the thing about like sacrificing creatures, I believe Grizzly Harvest is one card which really shows this. Um, it's one black and a green. Oh wait, whoops! I'm sorry, I was thinking of the wrong card here. Let me look for the one that I'm talking about. A Grim Fertilizer. That's what it was. So yeah, not both start with a GRI. But yeah, as an additional cost to cast this, sacrifice X creatures, and then you draw X cards and sow X times. Where sowing, you put a seed counter on a land, and those lands allow you to sack them to create food. Which, yeah, I think food was like another big theme that people hit on, which is obvious. I think it's like it's both like salient, it's on people's minds because it just came out, and it's just such a strong flavor hit. Pun
Oh
unintended.
yeah, I I hadn't even thought about how much like how food naturally ties to it, but that there would, as a result, a lot of cards explored food, including myself.
Hmm.
I like this sewing, this or sewing. I think it's pretty neat just to have the one counter and then it's ready for you to do anytime you want to produce the food. You got that three-step beat there. You got sacrificing the creatures, that's step one to get seeds around, and you got the step two, which is you actually have to sack the land that you had taken up to get your end result. Now you have beat number three, food.
Yeah, and I think you talking about that process also made me think of another card, Estrid's Harvest by Dylan, which was you start off, you just play the enchantment, then you pay a white and a blue to put a growth counter on a land, and then finally you can sack it and find an aura to enchant your land. So it has that same like 1, 2, 3 beat, like down to putting a counter on your land
Mhm.
as a second one. So yeah,
Yeah,
just this idea of progression is something that I think lots of people hit on. Um,
an elegant way of growing food. Another food execution that I hadn't even thought about that I think could be used in the future for something is winged harvester, 2 green and white for a bird peasant, 2/2. When winged harvester enters the battlefield, create 2 tapped food tokens. And to remind you that food, to in order to use the ability, you have to pay two, and then there's the tap symbol, and then sack it. So, and then the other ability, just to finish the card, is one, sacrifice food. You could put a slow counter on target bird, boar, goat, horse, or ox you control, which is kind of a funny, hey, we're food animals type of grouping,
yeah, and
of
I feel
course.
like this kind of grouping. I can't remember if it's been. I think it was done in Canon Magic. In there was like a land at Rare
Yeah,
that did
yeah,
it,
yeah.
but I know that like custom sets like Lorado have had that as like a genuine like flavor slash limited theme. So yeah, every time I see this grouping, it makes me kind of giddy because it has this very like nice pastoral feel to it. But on like a mechanical level, it incentivizes lots of these tribes which haven't really had their time in the sun yet. So
Yeah.
yeah, Winged Harvester
It's
was one that I looked at and I was like, oh, this is so simple, but it really just it appeals to all sides of me.
Yeah, create a tapped food token. I think that can be reused somewhere somehow to show that you're growing the food or baking it or something. Maybe Redwall can type of set. I'm not familiar with a lot of the custom sets out there that you might know about, so there may actually already be a Redwaller
There's
set.
not a Redwall set yet, but there are two different people working on them. So like
Oh,
right now.
sweet.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
I know that uh, in terms of returning mechanics though, already bringing back adventures, so probably don't also want to hit food because then it becomes a little bit too similar to
Yeah,
Eldraine.
too Eldrainy. Yep.
But yeah, I think food is one mechanic which just like I think lots of like there's kind of this weird effect where lots of casual custom designers love it because it has this strong like flavor hook, and like lots of custom designers love just like making flavorful one-off designs. But then you have like long-term members who are like trying to do something new and different, and they're like, wait, everyone's already doing food, so I don't want to do food. So it's like this weird dynamic there.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to explore novel space.
Hmm. Speaking of novel space, one thing that really stood out to me, or like a design that I really liked, was I think let me just try to I'm trying to find the name here. It was or 3 green. Tilda Fields, that's what it was. So, 3 green and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. But the important part is it costs one less to cast for each non-land permanent you control with a mana ability. And like I really love cards like this, which kind of convey flavor purely through mechanics. Which like maybe this like what like this read to me is like, hey, the the non-land permanents with mana abilities are like your farmers, and they help you like it makes it easier for you to like till the land and prepare it. So I thought that was like super cool to me. It was just because I never seen this cost one less to cast for each non-land permanent you control with the mana ability. It's just not a line of text that I've seen, despite being so simple. So
Oh yeah, chef's kiss here, or I guess farmer's kiss, uh, for this. It's awesome to make more use out of your Hanamore elves than just tapping them sideways.
mm-hmm. um,
Another novel space, or at least to me, maybe you can prove me wrong here, is Mox Harvest. Pays 0 for an artifact, and all it does is you may tap Mox Harvest as though it were a 1/1 creature.
yeah, this is a weird one, and I think I would 100% call bull on this one. Like in terms of like, does this work? It's created by the rules manager for one of the custom formats, so
Ah.
so it reads weird, but I trust Cajun to like have done something good with this one. But yeah, I think I think this is the only design that took Moxtober literally, and it really tickles me. It's like, huh, okay, what can I break with this? Because it's not a traditionally breakable like a normal Moxen where you're just like, well, I need to find a deck where the downside of this doesn't matter because my fast mana helps me win anyways.
Yeah, you can tap it for Convoke or what is it, Improvise? I guess Improvise could have used artifacts too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's funny being you mentioned rules manager. Yeah, that means you get to like skate along the razor's edge and have people
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
think for a moment.
yeah. One like crazy one is like I don't want to get too off task, but I just like while we're on the thing of rules managing, this same person has designed an aura with flash that can enchant spells on the stack that actually works within the rules. So
Oh, right.
it's an aura based counter spell, which yeah, there's like some crazy stuff out there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I guess that
Um.
would fit for if you have a mechanic in a set that cares about casting auras. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So speaking of mechanics, I don't know if you have like any other specific things you want to talk about, but I kind of wanted to because there's a few other cards that like design their own mechanics. We saw Sao earlier, but I was thinking we could just like go through the ones that design new mechanics and like talk about them real quick.
yeah, there's one I want to bring up.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Uh, so this one's kind of topical with Zendikar Rising. We've got the modal double face cards, which did a spin on double face cards where usually you got transform, where you can go back and forth, or it takes time to get from one to the next on a permanent. Modal double face says, hey, you get to choose one right from the get go, and then that's it.
I think I know what
Uh,
card you're going to talk about, and it's the one that
yeah.
I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Maybe we both like lightning seedling.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is, and this is the kind of stuff that Moxtober kind of helps with. Let me read Lightning Seedling first up. It's, let's see, one in a red, creature, plant, elemental. When Lightning Seedling dies, sow it. To sow it, transform this card and shuffle it into the top 3 cards of your library. It's also a 3/1. And the backside, actually, you can read the backside fittingly.
Sure. It's just lightning bolt, but it's a harvest. But yeah, I think I love this. I feel like how like custom magic design has been alive for as long as there has been magic. As long as there has been custom magic design, there have been bolt variants that people are trying to design. And yet we still get new interesting ones. I love this. So like big shout out to Wobbles for this idea.
Yeah, this is more like the double face is now you have to do A going into B. It's sort of like aftermath split cards where instead of choosing one or the other, you have to do one side and then you go into the other side, usually.
And this one is like I love like this specific card is like your opponent's like, well crap, I can't kill this. I want to stop them from beating down, but if I kill it, then they just get the burn to kill me anyways. The
Yeah, you got to use chaff, I guess, and exile it instead.
yeah. Yeah, I wonder like At the end of Moxtober, I wonder how it would be to get together and put together a cube of cards here with
You know,
the
that came up last year. Rob or Alchemy Prime, who participated last year, wanted to make a whole cube out of it. It is a big endeavor, so we didn't actually get it completed. But now I think it's a more feasible with there's a lot more people, all of you participating. So
hmm
it's possible.
yeah. So keep those submissions coming, people.
Yeah, this has been awesome so far. Only one day down,
Yeah.
tons of designs.
Okay. So oh yeah, while we're still talking about mechanics, I want to throw it to Desert Field Scout, which is being designed by or which was designed by Emily, who has made it her mission to design a new named mechanic each day. So today's one is Harvest. You may exile this card from your hand with X bloom counters on it as a sorcery. Whenever a permanent you control with a greater converted mana cost enters the battlefield, remove one. When it has none, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. And then this specific iteration has something that cares about the greatest converted mana cost among creatures you control. Um, this is a weird one because I think that like being able to like free cast a bunch of spells, it like immediately raises alarm bells. On the other hand, I think
Yeah.
that you could probably like add knobs to it to make it safer, and just the idea of like, hey, you are again like you're building up resources for a big finish. Really, just it really like hit the idea of harvest for me. So I think that like it needs some development. I think as a design, I really vibe with this.
Yeah, so this is interesting where it's caring about greater converted mana costs, and that would be for the permanent that it's on. If that's, am I reading that right? Like
Yep,
three or more for Desert Field Scout.
yep,
Okay, and then the other part, you like, so there's two different knobs, I guess. Here is you can have Harvest two, like it is now, or Harvest one or three, or you can have the Desert Field Scout be like a Centaur Courser and have that be three, and it would change how it works. So I agree with you that you can get a bit more knobby here with the free spell and designing a mechanic each day. That's cool. I'm also doing that.
yeah. Um, so wait, if you don't, if there's other like specific cards or mechanics you want to talk about, uh, let's do that. But after that, remind me. Let's get to like shilling our own cards and what we our thoughts about designing this. I think that would be cool.
Well, we don't have to. Well, I mean, it's up to you. If you would like me to read my card, that's
I
okay.
mean,
But I'm okay with never reading my cards.
if you're comfortable, I think because well, why not? We're here.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Would you like me to go first, or you go first?
You go first, sure.
Okay. Let me bring it up. Let's see, crop collector. Okay. All right. Okay. So mine was crop collector. One and a white, 2/2. Common creature, dwarf peasant. When crop collector enters the battlefield, harvest. Which reminder text: if you sacrificed a creature or gains life this turn, draw a card. Otherwise, create a food artifact token with food text.
I really like this. I think lots of people have been like, "Where is White's card draw?" And like, so you see custom designs day by day, like that give White card draw in horrible, like sometimes out of pie ways, and it's like, no, this takes like White card draw and not only makes a good design for it, makes an entirely good mechanic for it. Like, how like repeated card draw on a mechanic is insane in itself. Repeated card draw on a mechanic for White, you like there's I feel like there's very few ways to safely do it, and I love that this does it in a way that not only safely hits the mechanical part of it, is also a slam dunk flavorfully. It's it's just fun. So yeah, I like Crop Collector.
Yeah, yeah. I was wanting to tap into that both definition of like being able to harvest not just crops but bodies. So that's why I put in the creature part to try to spread it around to like green and black. Those are all the like life gain colors, and this was sort of like trying to turn life gain, which can be a boring thing to try to aim for. Like in Theros Beyond Death, you had both Daxos and Heliod being like, "We like life." And I wanted to marry the two of like white. needs card draw somehow, but also white likes to gain life. So let's actually just turn the life into card draw, or at least ride ride the car. I guess you're not turning it, you're not losing life. You're actually still gaining it.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Okay,
Okay,
what's yours?
wait, before we move to mine, I realized that we moved on from the mechanics a little bit too soon. There's one more mechanic I wanted to talk about.
Oh
I
yeah.
was just looking over the MSC file. It's once again named Harvest. This one is by is by Andreas. Um, so essentially, it's on Garden Elf. Two and a green. When it enters the battlefield, you may harvest a land. If you do, draw a card. And to harvest, you turn a land you control face down, and it becomes a land that adds colorless. This again, it really hits that idea of like you're getting your value out of the land, and once you've done that, it's just like out of resources or out of mana. So it's very simple. It has like a real cost. It's a similar mechanic has been used in a custom set, but that set had like colorless themes, and that made it a bit more like there was like a bit more
Yeah.
tension, but it also made it um, less huge of a cost. I could see this in a set without colorless themes being like a real cost, or like you have to like really like manage which cards you harvest, and I think that's a really cool dynamic.
Yeah. I remember that wasting.
Wasting, yeah.
Just yeah. Yeah, very cool to tap into the like I love when you go into the different nuanced attributes of objects. And it, like other designs have just said, oh, you just sack the land. It's a permanent that you sack. This one is you sacrifice the colorful production, and that's very cool. I want to see like I don't know, maybe if you harvested creature types, right? Now it has no creature types because you took two away. That's like pretty wild uh,
Oh yeah,
attributes to
that's
tap
weird.
into.
Mm-hmm. Or like this is a I guess like this is throwing it back to like the straight like sacrificing permanence type of thing. But then there's lots of designs which had like sacrificing creatures. But I was thinking, why not like place -1/-1 counters on them, like a slow harvest type of
Oh
thing.
yeah, you're visiting their parts of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me just peel off a bit of this giant here. It's fine. They'll just become non-giant. That's all.
Just and yeah, and like you can flavorfully justify that in blue. Like that's so tiny. That's literally just that's literally just a blue effect. So
Ooh, what if, yeah, just to keep it so that you can't actually kill the creature, maybe you can peel off creature until they get to one toughness, and then you can't harvest it anymore. That's just dipping into black.
oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was originally thinking like yeah you just like you put the harvesting in like something like not quite as crazy as like the um God, I forgot the name of the Phyrexia set, but the new Phyrexia, which was just like black aligned, so you had lots of designs that are like quest like color pie, but it's because the whole
Oh
set is
yeah.
like black aligned. Something not as crazy as that, but still black aligned. I could see full harvest, but I like the idea of
Right.
like only being able to use your creatures so much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be an appropriate environment.
Um, oh yeah, okay. So I guess now I'll talk about my card. Um, I designed a few, but the one that I want to talk about is just named Harvest. For the I just was like, hey, well, I like the idea of like when you're given like a one-word prompt, like create an incarnation of it. Like what does this do like distilled? Um, so again, my thing was like, yeah, you want to be able to like have these like effects which you can stack up into some sort of like large payoff later. And for me, that was like harvesting. And I also didn't want to go for like food tokens and stuff like that because because I'm a masochist and I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I was like, yeah, harvesting creatures. So the main thing is, if a creature card would leave your graveyard, you may instead exile it with X time counters, where X is its converted mana cost. It gains suspend, and then to enable that, you can pay one black and a green and exile a card from a graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control or target creature, and you gain 3 life. So against like the +1/+1 counter is like well fed. You gain 3 life. That's literally food. So I wanted to like little pieces here and there. But yeah, in the end, I like how this came out. Also, because I think it was a red design, which I think that was something that I didn't go in expecting it to be. So yeah,
Yeah, I like the. That's pretty wild to have it be a slow exit out of the graveyard instead of however it will return. So now I want to, with this thing, and it's a legendary creature. That's kind of cool because now I want to build a
I
deck
literally
around
I
it.
was like, well, I don't think there's been like legendary incarnations, but I was like, this is a three color card with a clear build around theme. I'm gonna just slap legendary on there for the hell of it.
Yeah, put in your raised dead. Now you can start making use of it.
Yeah, let's go making draft commons actually really good.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's see. Red is the time counters part, right?
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, red had a lot of the caring about, along with blue, caring about time or playing with time back
Hmm.
in Time Spiral.
Okay, so actually, I wanted to, yeah. So I'm going to talk about one other of my card, but one other of my cards, just because it shares a name with two other cards that people designed. So I think
Oh,
it's fun to like compare them, and it's Harvest Moon. Mine and like I think everyone was like Harvest because Harvest Moon is literally just a blood moon. They're just like different names for the same thing. So um, mine was just like it's blood moon, but it costs one more to instead of them just being mountains, instead they're now all food. So it's a lot more devastating effect because they can't just like top deck lands and get out of it. But I really like the I just really like the thought of it, and I was like, you know what, fine, I will make a food design. Um, another similar design, which this one was made before mine, and I only noticed it afterwards, and I'm like, wow, this is super cool. Is by Mark Confidant. Another enchantment, red and a green. Non-basic lands lose all subtypes and abilities and gain the following. They can add colorless. You can pay two and tap them to create a food token, or you can tap and sacrifice a food to add one mana of any color. And like, yeah, this one just I like this like way more because it still gives them agency and like it lets them do stuff, and it also has that thing you talked about earlier of progression. You add the colorless, you make the food, then you sacrifice the food to get mana. So
yeah, that's it's cool that you're not forced to like because it's unilateral. Like it takes care of two things. One is you are blood mooning them, but giving them an out with the mana. But you may be more interested in actually using the food for the life gain part. Uh, but it also gives them the option too, if they don't need more like mana of any color, they can then start exploring the life gain. To, yeah, very clever.
mm-hmm. And then the last Harvest Moon takes a sharp turn into really like a really different and cool space. Designed by Kuyashi, it's two and a green. Whenever a non-token permanent enters the graveyard from the battlefield, you look at the top card of your library. If it shares a card type with that permanent, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. Oh, okay. So now I get to draw off my fetches too. Thank you very much. I will take that all the way to the bank, and then you just use it with yeah, you use that with like your non-token foods, for example. Oh, okay. I'll just like start drawing like depending on what it's features and other artifacts. So yeah, I this just seems like a really fun build around. It's definitely the type of thing that I would if I'm drafting a new set, I would see this as the rare and I'd be like, what can I force here?
Mm. Yeah, and limited, I would go, well, I have to run lands, and then I have to not have to run non-lands. So I probably just do maybe just try to only do creatures and lands and not and try to lean away from casting any spells.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think we're getting right about to the time limit. So my thought is, I have two more cards I'd like to feature. Do you want to just like alternate featuring specific cards and then we can wrap up from there?
Uh, let's see. Let me look at my list, see if we already talked about each
Or
one.
if you have like more to talk about, that's fine. I was just like, we're hitting right up on the
Yeah.
time thing that you said, so I didn't want to like go over time for you.
I got one more to mention, and
Cool.
so I guess you can maybe bring up one, and I'll talk about the one, and then you can close out the
Okay.
second one.
So these are both cards that I thought were unique in some way for the submission. The first one is I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm going to be honest. I think I'm going to pronounce it Gwillian Harvest. It's hybrid white and a black for a sorcery. You either return target Kithkin creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, or return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I remember I was reading that first part and I was like, that's clever because Kithkins are usually low CMC, so you're just treating this as an unearth. And then I read the second clause and I'm like, oh my god, it literally is just also an earth. But like obviously without the cycling, so it's allowed to do that. I think this is also fun because flavorfully I like that it's not a green card. It's mechanically I like that it's giving white something which I feel like it should by all rights have already. Um, Flavorfully again, like I love throwing it back to Lorwyn with the Kithkin and the reference to Gwillian. I don't know the specific thing that this could be referencing in terms of a harvest, but I think it's really cool. And back to mechanically, I love just the idea of abusing this with some sort of like nutty changeling and being like, okay, I'll reanimate like my like 2 mana double like sorry like that changeling from Modern Horizons, which is like a 3/3 with double strike. Just gonna go ham.
This 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 was a very cool, very cool execution here. Like both black and white can do three or less. Of course, white is focused specifically on just small creatures. But then using that to go, oh, what was black slash white? Oh, it was Shadowmoor, or sorry, Eventide, which did the enemy colors. But and then from there, going, oh, what creature types were here? Kithkin, and it's important that when targeting Kithkin like this, of all the creature types out there, that there is a reason that you pick Kithkin because you actually have some that are more than three or less. Otherwise, you would just say just do three or less and no other total. It's awesome that you have that just a bit more reward. Like, okay, it's cool. You can bring back your CMC 5 Kithkin, but that's it. It's all nice package here.
Yeah. Okay, what is the card you want to talk about?
Ooh, so this goes to one of my favorite planes here, Innistrad, which this card is reminds me of. It may not be actually flavored for Innistrad, but I thought it would be cool to do there. Stitcher's Harvest. Pay 2 and a black for sorcery rare. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature. You may distribute X plus encounters among creatures you control, where X is equal to the sacked creature's power. If the sacked creature had flying, you can put a flying counter on a creature you control, and then you repeat this process for first strike, double strike, death touch, and a bunch of other keywords. So you have this image of you're taking apart the creature, and maybe it was a big giant, so you got 3 creatures, but it also had like maybe haste and stuff, and you just took apart its hastiness and you mashed it onto another creature. And now I really feel like I'm sewing together an actual other creature's parts because you usually see scabs and stuff sometimes with wings, and that didn't come from a human, that came from some bat or whatever.
Yeah, like just super flavorful. I love designs like this that are just like, oh, okay, thank you for keyword counters, Ikoria. I'm just gonna run with it. Like just so much cool design space that's opened up. Um, so yeah, I don't really have much else to say. It's just it's really flavorful, and I don't know. I'm very much like an art kind of person. I uh, I like to rely on art to get my sense of flavor. But like I mentioned earlier, cards which can just like through their text convey like an overwhelming feeling of like the flavorful presence of the card, I have like big respect for, and I think that this one really hits the mark on that.
Yep, very cool.
Okay, and then my last card. So I think the reason I want to talk about this card is because it is unlike all of the other cards that were submitted, but in a weird way. So I think we've been talking about like cool mechanical differences or whatever, but this one is strange in that no one else submitted a card of this color. It was the only blue card that anyone submitted, and that is Harvesting Souls, which I think different people took the interpretation of like harvesting like the actual like bodies of the creatures and whatnot, like we just saw. But I think here we get an impression of no, actually, I will take the non corporeal. Thanks. So it's 1 blue and a black for sorcery. You exile target creature card from a graveyard. If you do, you create a token that's a copy of it. It's a 1/1 colorless spirit token with flying. So you're just extracting its ectoplasm and using it for its ETB value. So I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It reminds me of Soul Separator, which just focused on pulling. a part alive person, I guess. Maybe I don't know, no, a freshly dead thing, maybe. But
Mm,
yeah, this it's cool to go and take the essence of something.
yep. And I think with that we can wrap up, right?
Yeah, this was a very awesome harvest of cards here. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, this was lots of fun. And if you didn't, and if you made a card and you didn't get featured, it's not because we didn't like your card. It's because there were literally over 50 cards, and we do not have the time. I'm going to be putting in the description the MSC set file with all of the cards I collected from people from various sources. I'm looking, and if you want to submit cards for future ones, uh, this is going up on October 3rd. What's the prompt for October 3rd?
Oh, on October 3rd, that's a curio. I gotta check.
Okay, while we're looking up the what the exact prompt is, I'm looking at the MTG Moxtober tag on Twitter. I'm searching Moxtober on the Custom Magic and MSC Discords, and I'm searching Moxtober on Reddit. So if you want your card to be featured both either in a daily wrap up for Moxtober or just in the final set file, definitely post it over there. Um, you can catch us tomorrow where we're going to be doing uh, an overview of day two, which is Curio, which I think will go in a very different direction than this one. Um,
Yeah, day threes is binding.
Binding?
Binding.
Cool, okay. So this is going to be going up on day three itself, so hit us with your binding designs. Very excited for this. I think we're definitely going to get a lot more, a lot of plant designs there as well. So the cube, the limited
We'll see.
environment, it's all coming together.
Yeah.
But yeah, until then, thank you for watching. This is Caillou and Bradley signing off.